Again, team. Today we're going to talk about a few things that happened after Aristotle. In particular, we're going to look at what happened with the problem of Easter, as in, when the hell is Easter? It's very hard to figure this out. Now, some of you who are Catholics might know, and some of you just might know, but it's hard to figure it out, and this year it's pretty darn late. Well, figuring out when Easter is has actually changed the world. After Aristotle, there was the Middle Ages, and during the Middle Ages, as you read from your book, was an age of faith, and people trying to figure out what was real and what wasn't real, and there was the Crusades, and then gods maybe were arguments. Okay, a lot of problems, but anyway, I just ran here from the rain. After they came to the conclusion that the Christians got one part of the world and the Muslims got the other part of the world, one of the things that happened when Constantinople fell and became Istanbul is that mathematics moved to the West, because the West earlier had not paid much attention to math. And with the idea of this new mathematics, became a new way to understand the world. So we had math from the Greeks, but then we lost it, and then we got it back again into Western Europe. So there was a problem that happens. There was a pope by the name of Pope Gregory, and the problem that he noticed is that Easter was moving slowly through the calendar. And it was very hard to figure out when Easter is. And the reason it's hard to figure out when Easter is because it's based on 3 separate calendars. There's a lunar calendar that's 28 days long, about 13 months, which is also a menstrual calendar, which is not lost on the medievalists. There is also the solar calendar, which is 365 days a year long and a quarter. That's called leap year. And then there's the sidereal calendar, which is the star calendar or the horoscope calendar. And so you have all these 3 different kinds of time. Well, one of the great books that Plato wrote was a book called the Timaeus. And in the Timaeus, Plato says, no, time can't change. Time is time is time. Everything runs at the same time. Plato was wrong. But because of that error, Copernicus, who we're going to meet today, C-O-P, Copernicus, which I probably spelt wrong, but you can look it up on the internet. Copernicus says, I think I have an idea. Now, why would Copernicus be interested in time? That is because Pope Gregory, having taken 8 days out of the calendar, there was riots in the street. Oh my God, the Pope has shortened my life. He wanted to hire the best scientists of the time to figure out how to get the calendar to work so the feast days didn't slowly march through the calendar. He wanted that calendar to be stationary. And it all depended on getting Easter to sit still. And Easter is a Jewish holiday, actually, because remember, there's Passover, and that's the lunar calendar. But it also doesn't fit with the solar calendar, because it has to be on a Sunday. Lots of problems. So, they hire Copernicus. And Copernicus looks at the world that he sees. And what he sees is a geocentric universe. And I will tell you when Easter is today, by the time it's all over. Not this year, because I don't know. He's looked at what was called a geocentric universe. Geocentric means earth-centered. And what he saw was exactly what everybody sees when they wake up in the morning. You see, nothing moves, except the sun comes up, and the moon comes up, and the stars actually over the seasons will move around as well, but you don't feel like you're moving. When you wake up, you don't feel as if the earth is moving under your feet. Well, that's a song, but you don't feel the earth moving at all. So how did Copernicus come to the idea that the earth might be moving? What he did is he looked at this geocentric world. The earth is at the center. Everything goes around the earth. The sun, the moon, the stars all go around the earth. And he saw that there was a whole bunch of strange motions that the planets made through the stars. Because the planets would see, they didn't know what the planets were. They said, the planets are funny. You know, everything else is going around in a circle, but the planets are doing this ziggity-zag through the universe. Maybe the planets have souls. Well, that's a pretty silly idea, but that's what they thought. So then he says, all right, that can't be, because the planets are moving at a different speed. Everything's moving at a different speed. How can I make sense of this? So using the new mathematical equipment that's available, after the Crusades, as I said, it comes to the West, he begins to look and he says, you know, it's possible that what that ziggity-zag motion of the planets really is actually the planets are moving in circles if you look at it from a different reference point. So if you've taken algebra, for example, you know that there's different ways to represent a circle. It looks like a parabola. So he uses this new idea and he says, oh my gosh, I think I discovered something incredibly new. And that is that the earth is not the center of the universe. Instead, the sun is the center of the universe. And this became the heliocentric universe. So we go from geocentric to heliocentric. Heliocentric means sun-centered. And of course, Copernicus, having common sense, says, I'm not going to tell anybody about this because they'll kill me. Well, actually, he told the Pope that hires him, and the Pope says, oh, that's a great idea, just don't tell anybody. And his papers are eventually published after his death. Galileo picks up these papers, makes a big fuss out of it, and then they do put Galileo under house arrest. And they just apologized to him, the church, a couple of weeks ago, I think, or last year. Took him a while. And the world changed. So the day when they determined that one day the Earth was the center of the universe, a geocentric universe, for centuries, that was called the Ptolemaic universe, or the geocentric universe, one day some guy says, you know what, maybe not. Maybe the sun is the center of the universe. And it turns out that it is. Now here's the question. Do you feel the Earth move? And the answer is no, you don't. And yet you all think the Earth moves, and you have no sensation of it. That's amazing. It means then that the only way we ever discovered that the Earth moved, until we actually got rockets that went into outer space, and people knew the Earth moved for a long time, but the only way we could know it was through math, not through our senses. Our senses utterly betrayed us. And so this is the beginning of an entirely new moment in history. Everything changes. The Copernican revolution changes everything. Suddenly, the mind becomes more trustworthy than merely our senses. Back to that frog's eye and the frog's brain. Okay, see you in a second or two.